Problems contain their own solutions. The mathematics, the equations are right there in front of you if you know how to make them accessible by amplifying them. There's nothing about you that you need to fix or change. There's only your inner process to discover and make conscious. Connecting these intrinsic solutions not only transforms the problem, but also gives you directions, awareness, vision, and creativity that transforms a deeper or bigger issue in your life, one you may not even know about. In other words, your problem is really only a gateway to the real issue, which involves who you are in a deeper and more holistic sense. For example, Clara was super depressed and manic, and this was her identified problem. Her psychiatrist only saw this and tried to mask it with meds to relieve her symptoms. But when we processed it, she discovered the real issue, which was her need for self-empowerment as a woman. This wasn't something she'd been conscious of at all beforehand. Her depression was simply a vehicle for her to discover her deeper process. Your identified problem is trying to get you onto your true path of growth and expansion in a way that will change your fundamental being and further your conscious evolution. Personal growth and healing aren't only about fixing things. They're about increasing your awareness, expanding your identity, and changing your attitudes and beliefs. So what did Clara teach us about this so-called mental illness known as bipolar disorder? The two parts of the bipolar equation, depression and mania, are opposite sides of the same coin. They're two extremes compensating for each other, but have a crucial missing element: awareness of the process. The reason Clara's depression and mania went away was because she discovered this missing element. By identifying with her power as a woman, she integrated the gorilla, the image onto which she had projected her strength, and was no longer a depressed victim of its power. She also didn't have to fly off into delusionary manic episodes, imagining she was the most powerful woman in the world, because she actually became a strong woman. The loss of touch with reality that some bipolar people exhibit isn't a meaningless, random symptom of craziness. It's the psyche's attempt to free itself from something oppressive. Believing she was the most powerful woman on the planet sounds loony, but when you understand that it was simply an unconscious attempt to connect with her power, it makes perfect sense. Psychologists and psychiatrists want to sound like they know what they're talking about, even when they don't. And to this end, they say things like this. Here's one of the classic quotes. "The exact cause of bipolar disorder isn't known, but a combination of genetics, environment, and altered brain structure and chemistry may play a role." Well, guess what? I've read hundreds of psychological and psychiatric research reports on this topic, and every single one uses this kind of qualifying language. Maybe, is thought to be, could be, might be, is hypothesized to be. Whenever I read this kind of study, I talk to the journal paper or my computer screen and say, "Get back to me when you've got something real to show me." Putting might be and could be into the results section of a scientific study, especially when it's about a topic that affects people's lives, is irresponsible and often ends up in a slow spin over time where could be mysteriously becomes is. All it takes is one writer to change one or two words, and a whole new reality is created with very real consequences. In fact, this is exactly what the pharmaceutical companies do in their advertising. They conveniently spin hypotheses as established facts. They know the public is largely science illiterate and that they can get away with using this method to pull the wool over people's eyes. In a future episode, I'm going to tell you all about how psychiatry and the drug and insurance industries do this. The fact is, the disease model of mental health is based on two things: well-meaning but misguided ignorance and powerful financial interests. It's not in our best interests. Whatever's going on with you, you don't have a disease. You have a powerful process of change and growth trying to happen, and you need the right tools to facilitate it. That's what this podcast is all about. Clara transformed her so-called bipolar disorder by tapping into her inner gorilla. This spontaneous image she had of her depression, when amplified and unfolded, led her to discover an unborn voice within herself, the voice of her power, the power to stand up against the inner and outer sexism that tries to keep her and all women down. A problem is an unborn voice trying to express itself. Because it's an unconscious process, it frequently manifests in disturbing, dark, oppressive, and even evil ways. It needs your conscious awareness to intervene in and uncover what it's trying to express. It needs your help to give it birth.